The goal is to make technology work for you, not against you. And that only can happen when you are intentional about your choices.
Empowered Liion, roar so loud, no fear in this crowd.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Future Builders podcast by Empowered Liion.
This channel is about guiding you to live a life you desire by integrating your passion into your career.
We want to show you how you can make enough money while doing what you truly love. It is not a myth.
And we are doing this right now.
Yay!
Daniel, have you ever had one of those days where you just cannot stop scrolling on social medias? You know, like you sit down to check only one thing, just one thing. Then suddenly 2 hours have just passed. It's like what's going on? Then when you recall back, what have you been looking at, right? Then it's all about the memes and those funny videos that no benefit at all.
Yeah, the feeling is actually very crazy for me. In the past, I used to be like that. Some days, right, before my sleep, and I would just keep scrolling for endless of hours, literally just like 1 to 2 hours like that just pass on. And after I wake up also, like especially on a weekend where I have no not much of the morning routines to do. So after I wake up, I just like scroll for 1 hour, like scrolling on the toxic stuff that doesn't add value to my life. So the thing is, when I recall back those of the times, right, I should be either be recharging myself, like doing meditation or being productive on the work.
Yes. I feel like we all have those moments, right? You get this overwhelming sense of I should be doing something more productive, but then you are actually stuck on the screen. It is so frustrating how much control a device have over us sometimes.
Yes, and it is not just from social media itself. If you look at what pops up from the notification from your phones, right, they are like emails or e-commerce apps. So the thing is, we would just subconsciously go and open up those notifications and look at what's going on. So we have less control of our time. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you mean, which is why today's topic is going to hit home for so many people, I think. We are talking about digital minimalism. Specifically, how can we take back control from our devices and be more intentional about the way we use technology? Nowadays, technology has been very advanced, and I think it is very important for us to learn how to use it wisely instead of let it just control all of our mind.
Yes, and in today's episode, we are going to dive into some really interesting ideas from Newport's book, Digital Minimalism. This guy is all about using technology in a way that actually serves us instead of the other way around.
And I think what makes this topic so important is that it is not just about cutting out the tech entirely. It is about being smart with it, focusing on what adds value to your life and ditching the stuff that does not.
Exactly. We are also going to share some personal stories, talk about our own attempts at digital decluttering, and give you all some tips on how to start your own journey toward digital minimalism. So if you have ever felt overwhelmed by your phone, social media, or just constant barrage of digital noise, you are definitely going to stick around.
All right, so before we get into our really own experiences with cutting back on all the digital distractions, let us talk about what digital minimalism actually is. It is actually a term that has been popping up a lot lately, but it is more than just spending less time on your phone, right, Daniel?
This is true. Now, digital minimalism is not about completely abandoning technology or going off the grid, like don't use it completely. It is about using technology in a very intentional way. Newport, who we are going to be quoting a lot today, defines it as a philosophy where you focus your online time on a small number of carefully selected activities that strongly support things you really value and you happily miss out on everything else.
That is such a key point, being happy to miss out. I feel like the term FOMO can really describe it very well because a lot of us are having this FOMO means fear of missing out on something important if we are not constantly plugged in, whether it is on social media or even just keeping up with emails. I want to imagine this. It is like when you're in a WhatsApp group or whatever chat group that with all your best friends, a lot of people are there inside the group, then they're happily chatting inside, but you just have no time to check on the phone. And then when you just try to read back what they have been discussing, it's a little bit like you have been missing out something.
Yes, but Newport's idea flips that. Instead of being afraid to miss out from your friends' messages, you are embracing the fact that you want to miss out on the distractions. You are basically saying to yourself that no, these messages or these updates does not serve me, and I am okay to let it go. So it is like spring cleaning for the Chinese New Year, but for your digital life.
That is a great way to put it. Spring cleaning. You are decluttering your digital space so that what remains is actually useful or meaningful. And it is not just about cutting out things for the sake of it. It is about creating more space for deeper focus, more meaningful interactions, and real world experiences. And you will notice this once you just clear the things that that you think is important, but it is actually not. You won't be noticed that okay, your life has been missing out something. Suddenly you will feel like you have a lot of free time to do your own frivolous things.
Yeah, and Newport, the author, actually breaks it down into what he calls a digital declutter. And that is something we are going to get into a bit later because it is not about suddenly just like throwing everything out. There is a process that takes time, and you will see a sustainable outcome from that journey itself.
I have to say it is not easy as what does it sounds like. But before we dive into the how, let us talk about the why. Why it is even necessary to rethink how we use technology in the first place.
That's a great question, Belle. And I think for a lot of us, right, when it comes down to how technology has started to control us rather than the other way around. These tech companies, right, especially the social media platforms, they are designed to be addictive because there are tens of thousands of software engineers and psychologists inside the company. They are designing the apps, right? They are literally engineered to keep us hooked on.
Right, and it is not by accident. It is built into the very design. The notifications, the endless scroll, even the way social media feeds refresh, they all play on our psychology to keep us coming back for more.
And Newport talks a lot about this in his book. He says that we are caught in what is essentially a loop-sided battle. On one side, you have people like you and me just trying to manage our time and not get overwhelmed. But on the other side, there are these massive companies with billions of dollars and teams of engineers all working to capture as much of our attention as possible.
And what is even scarier is that a lot of the time, we do not even realize it is happening. We think we are using these apps, but in reality, they are using us.
That is like so creepy.
Yeah, it sounds so scary.
This is where digital minimalism comes in. It is about flipping the script. Instead of being passive consumers of technology, we become intentional users. We want to take back of the control.
So now that we have a solid understanding of what digital minimalism is all about, let us get into the digital declutter process that Carl Newport talks about in his book. He lays out this really interesting strategy that anyone can follow to basically reset their relationship with technology. And honestly, this is where things get real.
Now, the key important point is that we are not just talking about deleting a few social media apps and calling it a day. So his ideas of a digital declutter is much more thorough than that. It's about taking a complete break from optional technologies for 30 days, which is 1 month. That means that social media, unnecessary apps, and even things like casual browsing, are not permitted. You basically just pressing pause on all the digital noise for 1 whole month.
Exactly. And it sounds pretty intense when you first hear it. I mean, 30 days without your go-to apps. It is a lot to ask, especially considering how much we rely on these things, not just for work, but for keeping up with friends, entertainment, even little things like looking up the weather or news.
I remember thinking the same thing when I first tried it. The idea of not checking social media for 1 whole month, it felt impossible for me. But Newport makes it a really good point. You need that time away to truly understand how much of your digital habits are just autopilot behaviors that are not serving you. The goal is not just to cut things out, but to use that break to reflect on yourself, on what is really important to you in your life.
That reflection part is a key. It is not just a detox where you go right back to your old habits afterward. It is about using those 30 days to figure out what you actually want to let back into your life. Newport calls it reintroducing technology with intention.
Guys, this part is really important. We are not deleting the apps forever and not using them forever, but after 30 days, you are supposed to gradually bring back the only digital tools that really add values to your life. And he means like real value. It is not like it keeps me entertained, during my free time, or everyone else is using it, so I need to use it also. You are meant to evaluate whether each tool genuinely supports your values and goals.
So, Daniel, I think it is time for us to break down these steps a bit more for our audience. The first step is to identify which technologies are optional. You are not supposed to cut out things like work emails if they are necessary for your job, but social media, entertainment apps, and even some messaging platforms can be considered optional. For example, Line or Snapchat or many other tools.
Yes, and that is the first step. Once you have identified the optional apps that you want to delete it, you need to stop using it completely for 30 days. It means that no logging into Facebook just to check your notification or picking at Instagram. You are supposed to give yourself full mental break from these distractions.
Which is easier said than done. I remember the few days of my digital declutter were tough. I kept reaching for my phone without even realizing it. It was like my brain was trained to open apps when I'm free. Even when I had nothing specific to check, I would just open it automatically without me even realize it. And then I'll just spend a few hours scrolling. Wow, that's scary.
I tell you what, I also had the exact same experience. I would just unlock my phone and then my thumb would automatically go to find the apps that I had deleted. Then I just like swipe left and right to look at where is my apps. Yeah. So it was the muscle memory at that point of time. Then I had to retrain myself to use my phone differently.
Totally. And that is where the second part of Newport's process becomes crucial. What do you replace your online time with? This is where people start asking those tricky questions like, what if I miss out on bonding with friends? We've all been there, right? But here is the thing. Instead of just liking a post or dropping a quick comment, why not make it more meaningful? Give your friend a call or send them a video message. This kind of interactions are so much richer and more valuable than just hitting like on a post.
That is a really good reminder, Bell. And guys, if you feel like a friend is not close enough for you to actually call them or send them a private message, like video message, then maybe that is a sign. Do you really need to keep up with that friend through low effort social media interactions.
And another big concern people have is, what if I miss out on the latest trends or news? Well, there is a much better alternative than relying on random posts you see on social media. You can subscribe to newsletters or websites that specialize in the topics you are actually interested in.
Whether it is world news, politics, or some niche interests, there are plenty of high quality sources out there. They offer curated, meaningful content. It is way better than scrolling through a newsfeed and hoping something worthwhile pops up.
That makes a huge difference. And during those 30 days of digital decluttering, it is essential to fill that newfound time with activities that bring you joy or help you grow. It could be anything like reading, learning a new skill, exercising, whatever gives you a sense of fulfillment. And most importantly, you can be doing things that you love and enjoy.
I've heard from people who have done this digital declutter that it can be a real turning point. They find themselves with so much extra time to explore hobbies or interests that they have been neglecting, like what you mentioned just now, Belle. Or even, if you don't have anything to do, just sit down, do nothing, and just do meditation, and there will be some new ideas popping up, from your mind that is like more powerful than you have ever thought. It is amazing how much time that you can reclaim once you stop mindlessly scrolling through social media. Some people even manage to get through a couple of books in that month alone.
That is incredible. And I think that is the whole point of it, right? You create space for activities that really matter, things that you have been meaning to focus on, but you just never had the time. Try to remember what things you always wanted to do, but the excuses that you give every time is just, I have no time, I'm too busy for it, etc. Some people created a side hustle that generates an additional income stream, or just simply being more present with loved ones. People often realize how much time they were wasting on things that did not truly add any value to their lives. It is a complete mindset shift that I think all of us will definitely appreciate it.
You know what? This is really the whole point of the digital declutter, right? So it is not about just stopping using it altogether, but it's creating a space for more meaningful, productive, and fulfilling activities. And once those 30 days are over, you can look at technology with a fresh perspective and decide what is actually worth keeping in your life.
After those 30 days, you slowly reintroduce only the tools that truly benefit you, and you set clear boundaries around how and when you use them. For example, I decided to keep Facebook but limited myself to using it for writing my daily post. And even then, I made sure I did not spend more than an hour on it. By the way, just to mention about this, if you are so curious about my daily post, you can actually check it out on my Facebook profile.
Yeah, this is really great. Well, now I actually did something similar. I realized that, after 30 days, I did not need to be on social media every day. If there's something really interesting, like having a huge promotions on certain restaurants, my loved ones will direct message me via WhatsApp. So the rest of the time, I just focus on activities that mattered a lot more to me.
You got it, Daniel. So the whole point of you using social media is just about the promotion of certain restaurant, is it?
Yeah, that is a huge part of it. Yeah.
That's so funny of you. Oh my God.
Yeah. So we have talked about cutting out the optional technology for 30 days, finding more meaningful activities to fill that time. And the mindset shift can come with that. But the process does not stop there, right? The next step is what makes it really sustainable, which is really introducing technology, but this time with intention, like what we mentioned just now.
This is a super crucial step. After those 30 days, you're not just diving back into your old habits. Instead, you are evaluating each piece of technology and asking, does it genuinely support my values? Does it add to my life or does it take away from it? You have to really know that why you bring it back to your own life.
I think this is where a lot of people make the mistakes of going right back to their old routines after a detox. But Newport stressed that the importance of setting clear boundaries for the tools you decide to keep. It is not enough to say, I will just use social media less than I was before. You need to create specific rules around how and when you are going to use it.
Yeah, and these boundaries can look different for everyone. For some, it might mean only using certain apps on weekends or limiting time on social media to a specific window during the day. Others might decide that some platforms are not worth reintroducing at all. The key is to make sure that whatever you are bringing back into your life is serving a real purpose.
That is the beauty of this process, Bell. And it is completely customizable. You are the one in control of your own phone, and you get to decide which tools are worth keeping and how they fit into your life. But the boundaries are essential and important. Without boundaries, it is easy to just slip back into those old habits.
And it is not just about the time limits either. It is about understanding how these tools impact your focus, your mood, and your productivity. For example, if checking social media makes you feel anxious or distracts you from your work, then maybe it is worth reconsidering how often you engage with it, or even you should use it at all.
The goal is to make technology work for you, not against you. And that only can happen when you are intentional about your choices. So after the 30 days, the question becomes, how do you want to use technology moving forward? What boundaries will help you maintain a healthy relationship with it?
That is a big question, and it is something everyone will answer differently, depending on their priorities and what they value most. For example, some people might find that they barely miss certain apps or platforms, while another part of people may find it that certain tools do enhance their lives, but only in moderation.
You know what, Well, apart from my loved ones telling me the promotions of restaurants in WhatsApp, the other example was that I seldom use Instagram, but I do have an account. I only message maybe about one to two people on that platform itself. And even then, those people are either not that important in my life or I can easily contact them through other apps. Eventually, I just removed it from my phone and not getting it back after 30 days. Even though I was not using it much, just having the space for it and seeing the icon every time when I unlock my phone, it add up a bit of my mental energy. If it does not bring any real value to me, then why keep it around?
Yeah, I agree with you, Daniel. But for me, it is another way around. I use Instagram very frequent that I can only contact most of my friends on Instagram. I do not actually give them my numbers to contact me via WhatsApp. So every time when you want to talk about something or I suddenly miss them so much, then I'll just drop them a text on Instagram. That's why I still keeping it. But on my Instagram, I actually follow a lot of pages that is from a news company,
Hmm,
like the daily newspapers companies. I will just follow them to um try to catch up the news happening lately.
that's great.
So that's why I'm still keeping my Instagram.
Hmm.
But for some apps, for me, personally, I don't use X a lot. So maybe it's time for me to remove it. I have no idea. Yeah, that is really what digital minimalism is all about, right? Listeners, you need to be intentional and thoughtful about the role those apps plays in your life. By setting clear boundaries, you ensure that technology supports you with your goals instead of getting in the way.
100%.
So we have covered a lot about the digital declutter process and how to reintroduce technology with intention. But I think it is also important to talk about how people can actually get started with this. I mean, 30 days without social media or other distractions sound great in theory, but for people who has never done this before, it can feel pretty overwhelming. They can feel a little bit stressful and lonely because they have to cut off all the things from their life.
Exactly. It is actually a big shift, especially if you are getting used to being constantly connected like most of the people. But with any habit change, starting small can make a huge difference. You do not have to dive straight into a full 30-day detox if that feels too intense for you. One of the easiest ways is to start picking just maybe one area of your digital life to focus on. Maybe it is social media, or maybe it is notifications, or even start with e-commerce app. You can start by turning off notifications for the apps that are not essential and see how that impacts your day-to-day focus.
That is such a great point, Daniel. Even something as simple as turning off notifications can immediately reduce the mental clutter and that constant feeling of being on. For me, as an example, actually, although I'm quite active on Instagram, I text a lot of people via Instagram, but my notification of the Instagram is actually off. So whenever people text me, I have no idea when they text me or I don't even know they text me until I check it. I open up my Instagram and I check it. Okay, that's the time I reply them. But usually I'll take a very long time to do the reply, It's quite tiring sometimes. Yeah. But although my although I realize that somebody texts me a little bit too late, but for me, I feel quite calm and my life is just very peaceful, You don't have to check on Instagram so frequent that your life is all about Instagram. No way.
Agree.
Yeah. And another idea is setting specific times during the day for checking your phone or certain apps rather than having it with you all the time. For example, you could set a rule where you only check emails at two designated times a day or only scroll through social media after dinner. It creates boundaries and keeps you from mindlessly reaching for your phone. This is very useful, I think, for people, when you just send a text of invitation to your friends, right? You're always waiting for their reply. So I think that's the time you will keep checking your phone very often. So by this way, I think you can be more focused on your own stuff and only check it during the time frame that you set earlier.
Yeah, I realize that being on social media, we are depending more on other people than focusing on ourselves, which is not a very good point. Yeah, so let us move on. If you are feeling ready for something more, you can try a weekend detox. Just 2 days without optional technology, like the social media or entertainment apps, can give you a taste of what it feels like to unplug yourself. A lot of people find that even a short break can be really eye-opening. You start to notice how much extra time you have and how much more present you feel.
This is so true. A weekend detox is a great way to ease into it without the pressure of a full month. And it is also a good opportunity to pay attention to what you do with that extra time. Do you find yourself reading more, spending time with family, or doing something creative? Those moments can help you decide which activities are really worth your time and which tech habits are not.
So the key is to really notice the changes as they happen. Be mindful of how you feel during the process, whether it is increased focus, better productivity, or just a sense of being more relaxed. Once you are aware of the impact of these small changes are having, it becomes much easier to stay motivated and carry on with the process. That awareness is what drives you to keep going because you can actually see the benefits in real time.
And for those who want to dive into Newport's full 30-day digital declutter process, having a plan is essential. It helps to write down exactly what you're going to cut out and what you will do instead during that time. Make a list of activities or projects you want to focus on so you do not feel lost without your usual digital distraction.
Yes, planning ahead is the key. And do not forget to communicate with people who might expect you to be online. Let them know that you are doing this detox so they are not surprised if you have less time to respond to them. It also helps to get support from friends or family who might want to join you or at least understand why you are making this change. And then for those other people whom you don't really have a lot of connection with, just don't bother with them.
Yeah, and I think that is the most important takeaway for our listeners today. It is not about avoiding technology altogether. It is about using it in a way that genuinely supports your life and goals. By setting clear boundaries and being mindful of the role tech plays, you are making sure that it works for you, not the other way around.
And guys, I want to tell you that it is okay if you do not get it perfect right away. Like with any habit change, it is a process. You might slip up and fall back into old habits, but the key is to recognize it and make adjustments as you go. Don't blame yourself, for doing the bad things again. Digital minimalism is a long-term strategy for reclaiming your time and focus.
So, if you're listening right now and feeling a bit overwhelmed by how much time you spend online or how distracted you feel throughout the day, try starting with just one small change. Maybe turn off notifications for a week or limit yourself to checking social media at a certain time of day. See how it feels and take it from there. And I have another small tips. If you think that turning off the entire notification is too much, you can just put those notifications into silent. You will still see them, but it won't distract your flow.
Yes, you know what? I'm using iPhone and there are different kinds of mode that you can choose. So typically I use work mode or sleep mode. So let's say when I use sleep mode during my sleep, right, there is no notification when I look at my phone unless I go and unlock it myself and actively go and look for the notification center.
Yes, and you don't think that only iPhone can do it. Android phone like Samsung can do the same thing as well. So stop finding excuses for yourself. There are a lot of solutions out there. It's just that whether you're willing to take the effort or not.
Yes, even small steps toward digital minimalism can have a big impact. You will start to see the benefits slowly, and once you do, that motivation to keep going will naturally follow.
All right, so to wrap things up, we have talked about how digital minimalism is really about being intentional with the technology in our lives. By setting boundaries, staying mindful of how tech impacts us, and taking even small steps, we can create a healthier, more productive relationship with the digital world.
And as we have always said throughout today's episode, you do not need to overhaul everything at once. Just start small, pay attention to the changes, and adjust as you go. Digital minimalism is a long-term shift that can help you reclaim your time, focus, and overall well-being.
Before we go, if you are in a place where you are rethinking more than just your relationship with technology, like maybe job or your career, it is worth checking out the Stay or Slay quiz at www.empoweredleon.com/s. It is a quick and insightful way to help you figure out whether you are better off staying in your current position or if it is a time to make a big change and transform. It is a great tool if you are feeling stuck and needs clarity.
That is a fantastic resource. So, Whether you are looking to simplify your digital life or make some bigger career moves, taking that first step is what matters most.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Future Builders podcast by Empowered Liion. We hope you found some helpful insights to take away. Stay tuned. Bye.
Living truths, no more dreaming. Empowered Liion, roar so loud. No fear in this crowd. Passion turns to power now. Living life so proud. Life's a journey worth living. Heart and soul we're giving. Synergy is in the air. United we declare. Life's a journey worth living. Heart and soul we're giving. Synergy is in the air, united we declare.